Mr. Speaker, like me, you'll have witnessed many autumn statements and statements by the Chancellor Exchequer. And you'll know that there's such a thing as the iron law of Chancellor's statements. And the iron law of Chancellor's statements is that the louder the cheers for the statement on the day, the greater the disappointment by the weekend when the analysis goes in. But from what we've heard today, we don't need until the weekend for this statement to fall apart. Over the last 5 years, there's barely been a target the Chancellor's set he hasn't missed or hasn't ignored. 5 years ago, the newly elected Chancellor and the Prime Minister came to this House and warned us that because of the dire economic situation our country faced, what was needed was a 5-year programme of austerity measures, job cuts, wage freezes and cuts in public services. But we were promised specifically by this Chancellor that by today the deficit would be eliminated and debts would be under control. And debt would be under control and falling dramatically. People put their trust in that commitment. There's only so long you can blame past governments. There's no more excuses for this Chancellor after 5 years. And we were also promised, if sacrifices had to be made to tackle the deficit, not to worry, we were all in this together. No, we're not. 85% of the money saved from tax and benefit cuts in the last Parliament came directly out of women's pockets. Disabled people were hit 18 times harder than anybody else. 4.1 children now live in absolute poverty, an increase of 500,000 from 2009-10. Today, the Chancellor has been forced into a U-turn on his tax credits. And I want to congratulate the members in this House on all sides who made this happen. I want to congratulate the members in the other House as well. I'm glad he's listened to Labour and seen sense. But as ever with this Chancellor, we await further clarification on the details, particularly if the limit to 2 children remains. And we're aware of the impact on universal credit. It appears that the 14,000 families already on universal credit will still suffer the full cut. And all families that would newly qualify for tax credits in 2018 will suffer the full cut under universal credit. So this is not a full and fair reversal as we pleaded for. One of the greatest scandals under this Chancellor has been the attack on social care. 3,000 beds have been lost already. And according to the Association of Directors of Adult Services, the care precept, the 2% announced by the Chancellor, is not nearly enough to fill the funding gap this government has created. The result is that some of the most vulnerable people in our society will be at risk, and more people will be forced to resort to their local hospital for their care. We also know much more about the scale of people suffering from mental health problems, and we welcome the additional funding today devoted to mental health. But it is no use funding through the health service for mental health support when local authority support is being cut as a result of this settlement. More people will be left vulnerable. I worry that the vast majority of young people hoping for new homes will be disappointed by the Chancellor's failure to deliver. His record on building anything so far does not inspire confidence at all. Over the last year, the Chancellor has forced himself onto building sites all around the country to secure a photo with a high-vis jacket. When the Chancellor did his Bob the Builder speech at Tory party conference, what he didn't tell delegates was that his abysmal investment record. Only 9% of the projects that have started under his infrastructure pipeline in 2 years. In 2012, he announced a £40 billion guarantee scheme. 3 years on, only 9% again has been signed up. In 2011, he announced a £20 billion pensions infrastructure platform, but 4 years on, only £1 billion of commitments has been secured. The construction industry is actually shrinking this year and going into recession. On the environment, the government has announced today various measures, but let's be very clear. Government ministers can go to the Paris Summit on climate change with the proud record of nearly killing off our once flourishing solar renewable energy sector. This is no longer the family silver up for sale. This is the furniture, the fixtures and the fittings. And we know who's the first in line to buy. Can I just say, I never envisaged that when it came to nationalising, I would be outdone by a Conservative Chancellor. The only difference between us is that I would like to bring services like rail back into the ownership of the British people. The Chancellor wants to sell them to the People's Republic of China. In the end, this debate is about what sort of society we want to live in. The government is systematically dismantling all those aspects of our society that make our community worth living in and celebrating. The Chancellor is not just cutting our services today, he's selling it off our future. But there is an alternative, and our alternative will be that we will eliminate the deficit, but we'll do it fairly and effectively. We will do it by ensuring that we end the tax cuts to the rich. We tackle tax evasion and avoidance, and we invest to grow. And we will grow our economy on the basis of the investments in skills and infrastructure. We will become, in addition to the financial centre of Europe, with the research in science and technology, we will become the technology centre of Europe under a Labour government. And that means high skills, high investment, high wages. That is what we're committed to on this side, and that is what we'll secure when we return to office.